All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I'm going to give you a little bit of a heads up introduction to what we're going to do for the third week of February coming up. And then after this week, we'll have the break week, study week. I don't know why they even bother calling it study week. Anyhow, last week we did a number of things over in the cultural section and talking about ethics and also viral marketing. And I added a couple of videos here. Actually, this one was an old video. I just hadn't had a screen capture done of it. This is me talking for 3 minutes about the whole thing about diaspora and mother tongue marketing and why we do this in this course. Why I ask or beg, I should say, of the students to make videos about the culture that they're from. And I have discovered in my digital files a whole bunch of videos that people made about Greece and other European countries and Asian countries, which I'm going to add into the list. So the list is actually longer than we think it is. And I've also had a couple of people from Wednesday class and one from Thursday class also offer some country information. So I'm going to add that into the list as well. So our big list of all the different countries is growing. And I really appreciate that. And it's growing with interesting things too from the perspective of young people wanting to do business. That's the important thing, not just cutting and pasting out of Wikipedia. All right. We didn't get a chance to talk about Hofstede, only very, very briefly. So I'm going to make sure we have a chance to talk about it this week. So it says February 2nd, 3rd, 4th, but we'll talk about it for just a few minutes on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday this week, coming on the 17th, 18th, and 19th. I should say 16th because, 17th, yeah. Scrolling down here, things to add in. Didn't have a chance to talk about the Canada-U.S. relations, but I will mention that because it's a very important thing, especially following POTUS 45. And the ethical situation. Now, I also wanted to add in some more videos from students that had made previously. This one is a very humorous look at corporate social responsibility. Has some adult language in it, so make sure you got your sensitive ears turned off. Also, this little point here about whistleblowers. I hadn't really talked about it in detail, so I'll explain what whistleblowers are. I also found two interesting videos. Oh, I don't have the screen capture for that one put in, but the link is there. Made by students specifically talking in more detail about the Toyota sticky pedal recall with a bunch of teachable points in that. Last class we also talked about the boycott situation and blood diamonds, and one of the also things about ethics, which was a Canadian situation, was the bread scandal with Loblaws, which just happened a couple of years ago. I was quoted that story there. Stakeholders. Many students said they were glad that I told them about the origin of the meaning of the word stakeholders and how it related to mining and prospectors. I will continue to do that and tell you why certain words came about, because it makes it easier for you to understand them and remember them. And another couple of ethical examples would be what SNC-Lavalin did in Libya and a couple of things like that. The viral marketing was also a very popular thing, especially when we talked about Super Bowl commercials and why guerrilla marketing was a good strategy. I want you to remember that word, guerrilla marketing and asymmetrical, because those are things you can say in a job interview, which will cause people to think you're very well educated and understanding of current terms related to marketing, particularly for small, medium-sized companies that don't have a big budget. And the whole thing about grizzly bear stories in that context. This link now works, talking about the green lights on Verizon, first responders, and the challenge of the culture of the participants. Yeah, this is me begging people to do those ethnic viral videos. Find some more of those. Okay, now, if you notice at the bottom here in your classes, right, 16th, 17th, and 18th. You'll notice that some of the conversation that we're having in class today comes from actually March. That's because I've kind of jumped ahead a little bit. You've all been so smart and intelligent and cooperating that I've been able to sort of skip ahead of class, and that's a good thing to have as a contingency, because what happened in class today on the Tuesday, the 16th, was we had a snow day on the internet, if you can believe that. I had a complete fail of connection speed. I think it was around 1.5 megabytes per second, and I tried 6, 7, 8 times to get the Zoom going, and I just couldn't. And God bless the students in the Tuesday class. They were very, very patient with me. But after 15, 20 minutes, I said, look, just take the morning off. We'll go do something later, and I'll send you a video telling you what we did. So for those people in the Tuesday class, I'm very sorry about what happened, but I hope this video helps to cover off what the things we would have talked about. in that Tuesday class. And for Wednesday class on the 17th and the Thursday class on the 18th, this is what we're going to do. We're going to talk a little bit about international trade theories, but mostly about these three types of orientations, which you learned about in MRK460, but I'll discuss in an international business context. And then we'll talk about government influence on trade. There's many things that government does with trade barriers, rules, regulations, tariffs, and subsidies, and I'll make sure you understand that so you can help companies be more effective in dealing with federal governments. We'll also talk about dumping in the CBSA. Canada Border Services Agency does more than just check people's passports when they're coming into the country. They do a whole bunch of other things, which I'll explain. And this dumping video here is a good, funny example of what dumping actually is. We'll talk about tariffs and taxes, which we have to be more concerned about. And you should watch this video in advance. That'll help you understand it. Subsidies is how you get money from the government to be able to do things, including export development, and I'll explain that also. And some of the rules and regulations, silly, stupid things like jam to Hong Kong, margarine, raises from Turkey, etc. I'll give you some very good examples of how the government screws up companies when they want to get involved in international business. And then the following week we'll talk about foreign direct investment and some other things like sovereignty issues, and then we'll get into some of these non-governmental organizations and foreign exchange market, etc., etc. So let's just remind ourselves before we leave this page that our sunset is approaching. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got 6 classes left. We've done about just a little bit over, just a tiny bit over halfway there. Okay, so I know your video assignment is not due for another couple of weeks, but please don't leave it to the end because it'll get crowded with all the other stuff. And we've got your final project due on the 6th, so I want you to start thinking about what you're going to pick as a company for your final project. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's what we're going to do this week. I hope that's a useful introduction.